back to another episode of the Lonely Liberal Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Zankin, and I am very, very happy to have you here today. So happy. My God, what a ball of joy I am. And that's what you're going to feel like while you're listening to the show. You're going to just be radiating with happiness and joy as Rick and I talk about probably some of the most depressing stuff in the world happening today, aka American politics. No, we're going to be talking about the news this week, which was some good news. I mean, in a way, the No Kings protest was maybe the biggest protest day in U.S. history. There's also some funny stuff with Melania with the robot, but obviously a lot of serious things with the war. Either way, I'm very happy to have you, and I hope you're doing well out there. I mean, some good news, right? Spring is coming. I mean, maybe if you have terrible allergies, you're not that happy. I am one of those guys. I am a Zyrtec or bust kind of guy. Just no sponsorship. It's just the only one that works. I mean, I don't even know why I said no sponsorship. It'd be a crazy first sponsor to have, Zyrtec, sponsoring the Lonely Liberal Podcast. But no, just to make that clear. But like I said, we got a good one. We're going to go through quite a lot of news. I'm sure you looked at the timestamp. But before we get into it, just a reminder, we are on YouTube. We've been on YouTube, but it's been very just an RSS feed, like Windows Movie Maker style video. Some people have been listening there. Real troopers commenting. I love you guys. You guys make me so happy. But we are now live on camera, so if you always were curious what Rick and I looked like, you can now see us there. And sometimes you'll hear us talking about something, so the vast majority of you listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and stuff like that. And that is excellent. You want to be nice, you can subscribe or whatever there, but I get it. Love you. I should stop rambling about chores for you. We can get into the show. Happy to have you. Let's get to it. All right. And we are back with Rick. Rick, what's up, dude?
Hey. Great to be here. How's it going?
Good. I'm feeling pretty good. I saw your new place for the first time yesterday. Looking good. Looking nice.
Thank you. The best part is right behind me. This amazing plant.
Which you
blurred out.
Exactly. Very secretive plant. What they don't know, it has your social security number written all over it.
Yeah, those geo trackers, they can find anyone.
Dude, that guy who just goes like, "Oh yeah, this is Ukrainian soil." Have you ever seen that dude who takes the pictures? Yeah. Oh yeah, they'll get you. Whereas am I? Open book Nick, the closet, fashion icon Nick, in case anyone wants to steal some pieces.
True. Looks like a very balanced color palette.
A lot of beige, a lot of white.
You know, I'm glad you brought up your fashion expertise because I could use some advice. I'm thinking about starting to wear suspenders.
Shut up. No, you're not. Why? You're not fat enough. I'm just going to say it out front. You're not thin enough or fat enough. Suspenders have a very polarizing body type. You need to either be very thin or very overweight. I feel like mid-body suspender is not the right go. What? Why?
I've really been chewing on it the past couple days.
Why? Why? I need to know why. What would make you want to look like Steve Urkel? Why would
the utility?
Why? But you're not skiing. Are you struggling to hold up your pants that much that a belt can't suffice?
So, I feel like they're very practical and maybe they need to be brought back, but this is why I want your opinion. And maybe the opinion of some listeners, because
yes,
because I'm adopting suspenders for practicality, but I know I won't be judged on that. I'll be judged on dressing like Larry King in my 30s,
and you'll be judged for the practicality remark is also judge-worthy because there is something called a belt. It would be one thing if you were like, damn, I can't figure out a way to keep these pants up. I guess it's only suspenders. There's another very common...
Belts aren't great. Belts aren't great.
They do have their limits. I mean, let's see. All right. Suspenders are used for tuxes, skiing, and Larry King and Steve Urkel.
It's just, I have some pants that are a little big around the waist, and the belts are uncomfortable, and I I don't want to just not wear them because I've spent a bunch of money on these pants. And so I feel like suspenders are the best option. But I don't know. I'm worried I'm going to look like Tucker Carlson or something.
I'll tell you this. I highly recommend just getting new pants. I highly recommend. Well, you also fluctuate quite a bit up and down. You do have an accordion styled.
Yes. Very yo-yo weight.
Which I'm sure
recently.
our listeners can relate to.
It's
Yes.
relatable.
Please save Rick from himself, folks, and write us in that he should not be addressing suspenders. Have you thought of what are those called? The ones that like farmers wear, like overalls. Because that actually, they're more stylish, I think, than suspenders. Suspenders, you're 30. You're 32 years old.
Overalls will make it look like I'm hosting like a children's show on PBS, I feel like.
Oh. Opposed to literally people who have died from old age already.
I'd rather look like the president of a young Republicans club and be comfortable.
Would they be comfortable? They'd be like on your shoulders all. Well, we'll see what the audience says.
I won't be comfortable in my appearance in them, but that's nothing new.
Yeah,
but will they be comfortable? I just feel like.
This is a disaster. You get this great bachelor pad. You get this new apartment. You styled it well with the new plant and everything else. And then you go, you know what? I need to really complete this. Suspenders. I'm gonna start dressing like a freaking like, hello, my you're gonna get a bowler hat too. It's ridiculous.
Well, I'm glad I asked before I bought some.
Sorry, I came down with it.
They're in my Amazon cart right now with a simple click of the mouse.
Buy now. Well, maybe I'm being too harsh. Maybe, yeah, let's see what the audience says, because God knows I could be wrong, As someone who likes to say he's very fashion forward, self-proclaimed fashion forward, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe that's... I have wondered if, funny, like more ornate hats for men will ever come back in style. Because it is one of those things that, hasn't been in for a while. And I feel like suspenders are in that kind of...
Well, mustaches are huge right now.
True.
They're really back.
Are you willing to accept the personality effects that come with a suspender? Like, are you willing to be more hipster, dorky?
Am I willing to accept the social isolation that's going to follow?
Well, I think you need to change a little bit of your demeanor, a little bit, to match the suspenders. It's like when I got the tattoo on my arm, the octopus tattoo, the dude originally who was doing it to me, he wanted to do this whole around the arm, like this wicked badass, all the tentacles everywhere. And I was like, dude, I am not cool enough for what you're describing. Like, I just like marine life. Like, I'm not a badass. So, like, there is a, item personality synchronization that has to happen,
Yeah, for sure. And then, like, once how big of a jump is suspenders to suspenders plus bow tie? Because I feel like that's a pretty quick jump.
Well, yeah. What, are you going to start wearing tap shoes? In a cane? It just feels like you heard our conversation about Tucker Carlson maybe running for president. You thought maybe I should run for president. So you're starting your early Tucker journey by wearing a goofy outfit. You're going to start saying instead of Zin, you're going to chewing tobacco. You're like the hipster, like all the different, like, to the left versions of him.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll definitely keep you updated, but
well,
I want to hear other people's opinions, because maybe you're just not as fashion forward as you think. You know?
That's true. I can't sit here and say I'm the authority on pant accessories. So I almost feel like you should do one of those cool belt buckles. That would maybe be cooler. Like one of those fucking, one of those big boys, like right up the front, and just like really lean into the belt and be like, I'm a freaking belt guy. But maybe I'm wrong. You know what? Honestly, who knows, right? Maybe that's what they're doing, because we're getting to the point now, where Gen Z gets older and older. Like, they're not that young anymore. So it's before long, the gen underneath will be dictating the show before we know it. These fashion things don't last very long. Because do you know how old the youngest Gen Z person is by definition?
No, I don't know.
It's got to be like 18s, 19, like 15, 16, or something like that, right? It can't be too young anymore because they're catching up. So yeah, anyway, yeah. So we'll see. Maybe suspenders. Yeah, let's see. Write us in at thelonelyliberalpodcast@gmail.com. We also are going to get a new email soon. I keep forgetting to do that. But also, just comment on YouTube or whatnot. What should Rick do for his fashion? Give him some ideas. Also for the background too, because I have a closet, but you actually have good real estate back there for something cool.
Yeah, painting of some kind or something. Maybe the lonely liberal donkey.
Yes. Well, Sophie made me that cool poster. Maybe we got to get her to make you one too. Well, we're gonna start selling posters. Honestly,
seriously, we need some merch.
Yeah, I know. I keep teasing it, and people keep saying I'll buy the merch, and I keep saying okay, and then I never do it. But here we are. But we should get to the news because there actually is a lot to talk about. Surprise, surprise. And I have a lot of thoughts, but I want to let you go first, because always. So yesterday was a huge protest day, the third round of the No Kings protest. And this one was bigger than ever, according to the organizers. So the first one was 5 million in June. The one in October was 7 million. And they're saying this is 8 million, which would, if true, make it the largest single day protest in American history, which is pretty cool. And yeah, the flagship rally was in Minneapolis, obviously because of the killing of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, because they were killed by ICE agents. Bruce Springsteen performed his new hit song, Streets of Minneapolis, which, Bruce, I don't know, man, if you're trying to make a buck. I don't know if I like where your heart's at.
On the nose.
Yeah. Maybe not who. I don't think we were asking for that from Bruce Springsteen. I don't think the people were really wanting that, but hey, who am I to question the boss?
Yeah, what happened to metaphor in lyrics?
Also, pretty quickly after a tragedy, it's pretty. Also, he's from New Jersey. It would be one thing if he was from Minneapolis, but he's from Jersey. Also at the rally was Bernie Sanders, Jane Fonda, and Joanne Baez. Interesting crowd. Once again, Bernie really being the only one who showed up. In the one in Massachusetts, Warren and Markey came, but in the big one, right? But anyway, I have a lot of thoughts on this big protest, and I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a great sign, first of all, that this many people are protesting. I think the reason it was bigger was probably the Iran war on top of all the ICE stuff, even though the ICE stuff was still the focus, especially in Minneapolis. I think the new war is bringing out a lot of people that maybe haven't gone to a protest in recent years. So I thought that was all great. Like you mentioned some of the politicians going. It was definitely a big speaking opportunity for everyone running in the midterms, like the
Definitely.
challengers and for re-election. Like Seth Moulton here is primarying Ed Markey, so he was speaking at a few of them around here, and then in Maine you see Janet Mills and Plattner having their own speeches. So it definitely seemed like the midterm candidates are jumping on it as an opportunity, which I get. But yeah, what was your first reaction?
So yeah, totally, and it was definitely the Iran war. Definitely, I think gave it that next oomph. I agree. Well, though, to be fair, they hadn't had a new one. I mean, they were protesting after the ICE stuff, but this is the more formal one after the ICE stuff. It is interesting. One of the most interesting parts about it is the sheer amount of protests that happened in the South. Texas, Florida. I know Ohio's not the South, but Republican stronghold. We saw stuff in. Okay, these are not the South, but red states. Idaho, Wyoming, Utah. This, I think it is important to realize that this isn't just a coastal thing. I think oftentimes any liberal protest just gets labeled as a coastal thing immediately. And this just is not the case anymore. This is a real sign of deterioration in the rest of the U.S., which is great. That's great. I mean, this is what we want, right? This is what we want people showing up. Of course, the White House released a statement saying that these were Trump derangement therapy sessions with very little public support. The largest protest day in American history is just a song and dance. And it just shows you just how out of touch they are and how they can keep trying to put their head in the sand. But the truth is people hate this. They might not like the Democrats, but they definitely hate this.
Yeah, and we're now going on like 10 years of this Trump derangement syndrome bullshit of like any criticism of the president of the United States means that you have a mental illness because you're so obsessed with him. Like, it's a wild theory, but they're able to use it for defending literally anything he does.
It's amazing how they have used catchphrases to just get out of anything. Like, they just use slogans.
Yeah, nicknames and slogans.
This everything they get out of is just bleh, bleh, bleh. Oh, it's Trump derangement syndrome. Oh, it's woke women's, men and women. So they just say little catchphrases and it just totally open this. They don't even know what they're talking about. They just say phrases and it works. When in reality, if there was ever a derangement syndrome, Hunter Biden derangement syndrome, because he had so little actual influence on anything and how obsessed they were with him.
Totally.
HBDS, that should have been studied more. But
yeah, and so not just Trump admin themselves saying the protesters are a bunch of nonsense, but this was a headline I found on Fox News covering the protests. 500 groups with $3 billion in revenues are behind the No Kings protests and communist call for revolution. And then the subheadline is, a Fox News digital investigation finds the No Kings protests are backed by a network of 500 groups with $3 billion in annual revenue, including communist and socialist organizations calling for revolution. So obviously they just found some large PACs that went to the protest and claim that these people, like, obviously the implication is they're paying all these people to show up.
Of course, 100%.
Which is the most, it's such a tired and played out conspiracy. It's just like all those millions of undocumented immigrants that are going to vote for president and risking being deported. Like, it's so obviously complete bullshit, but they love throwing it out every time.
Oh, this will somehow become Antifa. They'll go, it's Antifa, it's not real. It's unbelievable because we've talked about this so much on the show, but the Republican disdain for protests never ceases to amaze me. It's one of those things that if anyone even has a shred of constitutional care and like First Amendment love, to criticize protests like this is so dumb. It's just so dumb. And in fact, it's just, there's no precedent at all to suggest that any of that is true ever. Any of this buying, like there's not even one example really.
Right. And it's been going on for so long. I mean, the Occupy New York and Occupy Wall Street, Occupy Boston, all that stuff was when we were in high school, like 2010-ish.
Yeah.
And back then it was George Soros is funding all of this.
Who apparently can't fund
he's still around. Yeah, he's still in the shadows somewhere. I don't even know if he's still alive, but
98-year-old George Soros. And also the idea of the Democrats really pulling the strings for everything, well, they clearly can't pull it that well. Because look what they're letting happen. I mean, if this isn't working out, they're well. But I wanted to, so I've heard people say this in person, actually, and it's something that has just driven me nuts from all protests, and I just wanted to get your take on it. I've already heard Republican friends, conservative friends, and people online say stuff like, oh, Democrats will protest no kings and then say Europe is so much better even though they have kings. Like, hypocrite much? And I just want to take some time on our show to just say how dumb that is. That is one of the dumbest things anyone can say because A, that just shows you have no awareness at all of what those kings are. Actually, they don't do anything. They're just performance pieces in Europe just for like heritage reasons. And B, we're in the freaking US. Like people don't go to Europe, oh, Europe's healthcare system's so good because of their king. They just they just like the healthcare system. Like, what? We're not saying we want to be Belgium. We're just saying, like, we want the healthcare Belgium has or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, and I wanted to say, like, they have, Republicans and conservatives have such an obsession with the names of protests. Occupy Wall Street they didn't like. Black Lives Matter. What do you mean? All lives matter. They can't get over catchphrases. They get so hung up on catchphrases when in the same time they use catchphrases to write off everything. And I can't understand how little they understand what a catchphrase is and like a slogan. They just really take it so literally. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, they really latch on to these phrases. And this is like how part of the way Trump has won his presidential elections is like with his name calling, right? Like Sleepy Joe became such a thing, and Lion Hillary and Laughing Kamala. I mean, that last one didn't stick as much.
Laughing Kamala.
But Comrade Kamala was another one.
Of course.
But yeah, you're right. Like they love throwing the nicknames and phrases out, and they really obsess over. I mean, like Black Lives Matter is the best example of.
Totally.
They were so obsessed with the idea that phrase excluded caring about non-Black people, which, you know, we don't even have to get into why that's so dumb.
So stupid.
But yeah, they really like become obsessed with it. I mean, some of it's just Trump's personality and how they're all just copying what Trump does now. Like they're all running the Trump playbook of like, let's just name call and nickname people. And then some of it has to be just the modern social media landscape and everyone's attention spans being so short.
Yep.
And like it used to be like, what phrase can we latch onto, and now it's like, what word? Like it's just getting smaller and smaller.
And it's so funny because they don't do it with themselves. Like if Trump posts a photo of him with a crown on, they go, he's trolling you, liberal tears, ha 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 ha. But then if you go, no kings protest, they go, what do you mean? He's not literally a king and you like Europe and they have kings. Like it's such a funny stance to take. Or like, oh, you're protesting that Black dude getting killed by a police officer for no reason? Oh, what? You don't think all lives matter? Blue lives matter? Me. Like they just, it's just so weird.
Right. Or you oppose ICE killing unarmed civilians. Oh, so you don't think we should deport murderers that are undocumented?
Exactly. The jump is just so great.
Yeah.
And it's based off a slogan. Like it was defund ICE. That was the other one. Defund ICE. Oh, abolish ICE. That's the slogan. Abolish ICE. So what? We should just have murderers and illegal immigrants who are murderers roaming the streets and killing people? You want to abolish ICE? Defund the police? We should just have no police. Like this snarky little gotcha attitude isn't snarky or gotcha. They think they're going so hard when they say that, and they couldn't be going less hard. They think they have this great gotcha card, and it's so bad. They look so dumb.
Yeah. And what they supposedly hate about liberals, elites, woke people is their snarkiness.
Exactly.
Like, snarky is a thing that's constantly thrown at progressive people. But what is more snarky than what we're talking about here? Like these insane jumps of, in their head, they're like about to do a public debate against like the worst stereotype of a left-wing like college student.
Exactly.
And that really like affects their outlook on all these different issues, like this imagined stereotype of like their political enemy.
They think they're going to go, oh, defund the police. So you really think there should be no police? And then everyone goes, yeah, that's right. That's right. Like that's like literally the level of IQ we're talking about here. Like when it comes to stuff, I know we're coming off a little snarky ourselves, and I want to capture that awareness. But like the point is we're not talking about a slogan. Like we could just like that would be like saying like make America great again. What does that mean? Great again, great win. And like people do that, but I think that's dumb too. Like nitpicking the literal jargon of like slogans instead when there's like literal platforms to be had is so dumb. And it just shows how devolved our conversations have gotten. Anyway, I just can't stand it. I can't stand it. I've already heard the no kings thing now. Because what they do is they use that as an excuse to totally ignore the whole thing. Well, he's not really a king, so this doesn't mean anything. Democrats are dumb. Like, that's literally the logic
Of course.
that people are using, and it's just so dumb. It just makes me so angry. So, sorry. Little tangent, but yeah. Just stupid. And talk about stupid. Talk about dumb. Transition gets a round of applause. We are now over a month into the Iran war. A lot of news this week on this. Starting off with Trump, kind of coyly saying Iran gave him a present earlier this week. They've given me a present, and that's why I'm not bombing them more. And then people were like, what's the present? What's the present? He's like, they gave me a big one. And then he was being very coy. Eventually, he did say what it was. He said it was 10 ships as a present, aka letting oil tankers through as like a goodwill thing. It is important to know that these vessels were Pakistani flags, so Iran let 10 Pakistani vessels through, and that's kind of totally different. But he says that it was some sort of goodwill in the negotiation. Okay, I don't really care. I'm glad he didn't bomb them more and cause more war, so whatever. If he wants to lie and say that was why, fair enough. But it does show you how little he seems to have a handle on these negotiations.
Yeah, of course. And of course, earlier in the week, him saying we're in active negotiations, and Iran being like, no, we're not. We're not talking to them.
We've never talked to them.
Yeah, he still hasn't made clear what the goal is. Still.
No.
Like, we're still waiting for it. The goalposts are constantly shifting. Like, one thing he did was like pause striking like energy sites for 10 days, he says, like while they're negotiating. But another report found that like an anonymous like official in DHS or US Intel said that we've taken out like 1/3 of their missile capabilities, and all these different things they're throwing out. It's like, these are things Trump said he already did before starting the war.
Yes.
Like, he
we
said
heard this
he
last
already,
year.
right. He said a year ago he effectively destroyed their missile capabilities. And now we're hearing like maybe 1/3 after 6 weeks of a legit war. But it is amazing that he's taking credit for this secret gift of foreign ships passing through a foreign strait, because he somehow invents new ways to pat himself on the back for problems he created. It's unbelievable.
And there's no sense at all of this getting better at all. Continually, we keep hearing ground troop stuff. He keeps flirting with ground invasion. They keep loading up with more and more Marines. This feels any day now. Also today, the Houthis, which, if people don't remember, are a group in the Iranian proxy network that are in Yemen, who were actually a part of the original drama as soon as Trump took office, because that's who they were bombing, and that's who the Hegseth leaked the war plan, like that were bombing the Houthis last year. So they're back. They're back in it. They're back in the game. And that's bad because, one, that's another strait. That's the reason why they were in the news last year, because they have another little strait area near Yemen. And so, if anything, this is escalating, right? I mean, now another group is launching missiles at Israel from another area. So not only is this not winding down, this is winding up. Also, Iran shot at 6 ballistic missiles and 30 drones in Saudi Arabia, wounding 15 Americans and 5 very seriously, apparently. And also, Iran struck near an Israeli nuclear power plant, which could be really bad if there's a nuclear accident, obviously. So, frankly, all the facts and all the information that we're seeing, especially with this Houthi escalation, show that, like, this is getting worse every day. So I don't know what he's talking about, that it's, like, on its way out. Like, it seems like next week we could see a ground invasion and a way more further escalation of this war that's being escalated, like, literally live as we record this.
Right. And like, if he does withdraw, let's say in the next like month or two, like, what have they accomplished?
Nothing.
Potentially just killing their supreme leader, angering the entire world, literally angering the
Literally.
entire world, and then potentially the supreme leader is going to be replaced with a family member.
Yeah, the sun.
And then it's going to be back to negotiation table for effectively a new nuclear deal that Trump is not going to be able to call a nuclear deal because it'll look too dumb for all the stuff he did. So he's going to call it like the America-Iran Prosperity Agreement or something.
Yep. Yep. And keep in mind, folks, when they launched the original strike, Epic Fury, dying inside as I say that, they said it was a 4 to 6 week conflict, remember? That was the 4 to 6 weeks. That was the time frame. Well, we're at week 4. The strait is still closed, and new actors are getting involved. Also, it's important to note, who's doing the negotiation period? We've heard Trump talking to the Ayatollah is a thing, and then they said that's not true. We've had Witkoff and Kushner, so we brought our real estate boys in there. They're negotiating. They're also the ones that caused drama. And frankly, who may have misunderstood Iranian negotiation period, because people don't remember, before the U.S. bombed them, Oman and the people doing the negotiation said, like, they were about to hit a deal. Like, they were, like, really close. So, like, I don't know if they even know what's going on. Do they just not speak Farsi? Like, what? Why? What do you mean they're confused? They said they didn't understand? What do you mean you don't understand? You don't have no translator? So that's another worrisome thing. And then also, they're saying maybe J.D. Vance will be in charge of the negotiations, and he's famously been so quiet this entire time. We haven't heard a peep out of him. So who the hell is doing anything? This is just, it's crazy.
Right. Marco Rubio's focused on overtaking Cuba, which I'm sure we'll
Yep.
get to. But like, for them to release this 15-point plan that they apparently, submitted to Pakistan, who's the mediator, like, when Iran says one of the most important things is who's going to control the Strait of Hormuz. We need to be the one. Iran says we need to be the ones that control it. Trump says we need to be the ones that control it. And then Trump was asked about it this week, and he floated the idea that, oh, well, this is a big roadblock in the negotiations, the Strait of Hormuz, but maybe me and the new Ayatollah will share control. Seriously, that's what Trump share control with the country that he's currently in a war against to overthrow. He's like, oh, maybe we'll resolve this and we can just peacefully both have our militaries there controlling it.
And we could just share it over a couple of Trump steaks, and I can spray him with some Trump cologne, and we can wear our Trump 2028 hats and hang out. I mean, for all intents and purposes, him and the Ayatollah probably will get along great. I mean,
Right.
the track record of him and ruthless leaders are pretty much perfect.
Yeah.
So it is surprised they haven't had a budding friendship yet. I feel like
Right.
that's on the table.
And what's the point of submitting a 15-point plan to a mediator? It's not even reaching the country you're negotiating with, according to them. And there's zero agreement on the number one biggest point. Like, what you would think they would have stopped after point number 1 and be like, maybe we should start speaking with them before we really flush out these other 14 points.
Also, Pakistan as the mediator, they're literally currently at war right now, with Afghanistan. And I don't know if they have a great track record of mediation of problems. I mean, they're constantly in conflict with India, with regional other countries. Like, I understand they have nuclear capabilities and, like, they have kind of a, cultural tie to an extent, but not with Iran. I don't know. Whatever. That's the other thing too with this whole thing, right? Is that there's this whole, on top of everything we're talking about, this whole Sunni Shia Islam drama that really plays a major role in the whole regional dynamics. Like, for example, and I think I heard Jon Stewart say this, or someone say this week, but it's worth talking about here. Like, Saudi Arabia is one of the most well-funded countries by the U.S. in terms of military provisions. We give them tons of missiles and tons of military equipment, tons of everything. They're loaded, and for the region, they're like one of the most powerful actors, if not the most powerful actor in the region. Why aren't they doing anything? Who's like that? You know what I'm saying? Like, it seems like there's always all these negotiations with Trump. Like, Gulf states say, like, Trump, do this, Trump, do that. Israel says, do this. Israel says, do that. Why don't any of them do anything other than, like, whose responsibility is any of this? Everything seems so confusing in terms of who's supposed to do what. But, like, this idea that Saudi Arabia is just a country that just has no say in anything is crazy. They're a huge country with a huge military. And I don't understand why there's all these it's like that Spider-Man meme where everyone's pointing fingers at everything. Like, everything's so confusing, and I don't know who's supposed to be doing anything, but it seems like no one's doing anything except Trump, and he's the worst person to be doing anything. You know what I mean? Like,
and I think with a lot of the other Middle Eastern countries, like, they don't want to get bombed by Trump. Like, Trump is really on one right now, and like, they don't want to be like the focus of his wrath for next time, but they also, like, they don't want to go. They also can't just be fully supportive of the U.S. war against Iran, because obviously most people in the region are against it, and like, so I feel like they're just looking at Trump being like, you talk, like, you go out, like, you started this.
Yeah, do it, fix it. But what ends up happening is the three actors doing the most right now are the Ayatollah, Bibi Netanyahu, and Donald Trump, who are probably the three most reckless actors in the entire world. Like, other than Kim Jong-un, maybe. Add him to like, that's a uniquely disturbed bunch. Vladimir Putin, right? Like, this is the bunch. So, like, I know this is, like, way oversimplifying things, and I know this is the most complicated and confusing thing, but something's got to be done with in the future of, like, who does what and how this is negotiated, and there needs to be a whole new system in place on how the Gulf states handle these things. Because it's also true that a lot of the Gulf state prosperity really is a newer phenomena over the last 50 years, post-founding of the UN. So the relationship and the dynamic that they had when the UN started versus now is very different in terms of, like, their capabilities and wealth and everything like that. So, like, I just think this whole thing needs a rework. I don't know the answer, but this isn't working. It can't just be the U.S. does something and everyone just waits to see if they finish. This is not a success.
Right. But this is also why getting cooperation from other countries before you start a war,
of course,
is very helpful too. Like, and it's why Europe is also in this, like, frozen spot of, like, they don't want to piss off Trump, but they don't want to send their troops to Iran.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, Trump is really showing us, like, why allies are important by doing everything he can to piss off like, by being so bad to our allies so consistently, he's, like, showing us why they're important.
Why we had all these systems in the first place. And it's interesting. I don't know if you listened to the Wednesday show, but I did one about how the initiator of war almost always loses in the modern era. And it really is true. The country that initiates the war never wins. Basically, since World War II, there's really no examples of someone starting a conflict and, like, getting what they wanted. So I just think that we've done a great job as a society designing systems that prevent war. So when they happen, they get squeezed, the person who started it, and then it ends up being much more of a pain. So that's a good thing. Just recognize that that's true and just stop it. Like, that's clearly the answer, but these maniacs are just crazy. Anyway,
Yeah,
it's
I also think like the importance of technology and drones in
yeah,
modern warfare is like has really taken a giant step forward the past like 5 or 10 years. Russia and Ukraine's an obvious example where like Russia totally underestimated what they were getting into when they fully invaded Ukraine a few years ago. Like they did not think this was going to be a 4+ year conflict with potentially 100,000 of their own soldiers dying in it. Like
yeah.
they massively underestimated what like modern anti-aircraft technology and drone technology can do, that like your country may have a much smaller military and a smaller military budget, but like everything's about defense for these
Yep.
countries. Iran and Ukraine are both like that. Where like they've been so focused on potential invasions for so long that they're going to do better than you might think against like a more powerful enemy.
And it's hard, like, occupying a country is expensive, and no one wants to pay for that over, the Iraq
Right.
war showed that. It's it's just it leads you to this larger question of, is Iran the US's Ukraine? You know what I mean? Like, is that what's happening now? Is this just the beginning of what Russia and Ukraine are currently going through, but was, like that whole conflict? Is that just this?
I
I don't know.
almost want to say it's more like Israel's Ukraine and where Israel's buddy for some reason. So we're
Yeah,
like
yeah,
doing whatever Netanyahu wants to say. But in the sense that like just like Putin made up lies about Ukraine being a threat and wanting to take over more Russian territory and blah blah blah, like Israel really made the case to their own citizens that like Iran is going to destroy Israel if they don't do something first. Now, what the argument is for the United States being as involved as we are and like effectively leading the war, that's obviously still unclear. And
yeah.
you have to ask Trump like why,
Why? And that'll change on
because
the day.
we're certainly acting like this is a real war that's for the defense of the United States. That's the way Trump is acting,
Definitely.
even though that case has not been made to
Why would
Americans
that
at
be
all.
true? Yeah.
Right.
You know, I mean, they tried floating that thing that they were about to attack California, and it was ridiculous. They're not shooting California. Like, that's thousands and
Right.
thousands of miles away. Yeah, that's a good point. I think you're right too, actually. And again, it's worth saying, like, and it's all of this completely overshadows the Israeli ground invasion of Lebanon that is actively displacing, I think, hundreds of thousands of people, thousands dead. It's awful. So all of this didn't exist a year ago. Like, none of this was a thing. And now there's all of these wars. Maduro, not related, but Maduro was in Brooklyn this week at court, right? Like, what's going on with that? None of this makes sense to me. Rubio wants Cuba. This whole thing is stupid. And anyway, yeah, that's a good question. Do you know when BB's next election is? When can he maybe? I'm gonna live look at that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm looking that up. So it's 2026. So this year, he really can't win again. Like, remember, he was prime minister in 1997. So I mean, if he wins, I'll say this: if he wins, just as if Trump winning this time around, and especially if they do well in the midterms, Israel will continually lose a lot of credibility as a country, and it will be tough for them. Obviously I feel horrible for the Israeli citizens who don't support any of this because they're getting blanketed by a lot of this stuff, like the blame and responsibility. And obviously that's not fair to, whatever percentage of people who hate all of this. But if they vote Bibi in again, it will be getting even more and more challenging, I think. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of similarities, honestly, between Trump and Netanyahu, because I don't think either of them have a support of the majority of their countries, but they have the support of like a plurality, like enough to win an election that in a very like divided country. But like I don't think 60% of Israel supports Netanyahu. It's probably high 30s now. But the way that, they form coalition governments and whatnot, like keeps them in power. This is assuming the elections are legit, obviously.
Yeah.
But
which we have to assume. I mean, we
right.
have to assume that, yeah.
But also, like, they're just like Trump, so much of his rise to power was about fear of undocumented immigrants. Like, Netanyahu's able to still have power because it's entirely about instilling fear that Israel is about to be destroyed. He's been saying this for 30 years. Like, Israel's, like, it could come next week. Israel's going to get nuked. Like, it's always, the threat is always somewhere. So they're very similar, and judging by everything Trump has done in support of Israel, like, they're probably good friends on a personal level, too.
You have to imagine, right? Well, famously, Biden was friends with Bibi, too. What is with, how charming are these guys? That's one of the reasons why people always say, would you meet Trump? Would you have Trump on the show? Obviously, yes. But like, people say, why would you? He's such a bad guy. Partly, obviously, for views, but mostly, but really, I want to see this fabled charm and charisma because it's clearly not transferring over the television. Whatever, like, whenever when Zoran meets him, they coming out, they're giggling together. What is this? I want to see, like, what is this? What is this New Yorker charisma that I am clearly not absorbing one iota of? like, none of it comes through to me at all. Aren't you a little curious, like, what he'd be like in real life? Is that crazy? I know he's a terrible guy.
I feel like we can get it through the TV, even though, like, I can't relate to liking that type of charisma. But I think it's like, it's a mix of he's constantly complimenting himself while also throwing out these little compliments to the people around him, especially women that he finds attractive. But like, it's always complimenting himself with like a slight joke of like, oh, but you look pretty fit yourself. Like, you would know about golf or something. Like, he throws in these kind of compliments to other people. I don't know if you saw the clip of Trump calling into Fox News. I think it was that show The Five this week, where the host, who's a woman, I forget the reporter's name, but reporter's being generous. But she asks Trump, like, what's the status of the Iranian civilian population and like the children? Like, is there mass hunger? Like, are they getting fed? And Trump responds by saying, remember me and you had a nice dinner years ago at Mar-a-Lago? That was nice, wasn't it? And by the way, I shouldn't say this, but you look better now than you even did back then. That's honestly how Trump answered her question about starving children.
It's disgusting.
And this was like a few days ago.
It's awful.
So I certainly don't find that charisma charming, but some people do. That type of like old-timey sort of.
You bright up, smile more, girl. You bright up the room with your pearly whites. Like that, right. Like kind of like southerny, folksy, like.
Oh, Melania will be mad at me, but
my God, the way that dress hugs your legs. My God, you have a man all aflutter. It's just like, maybe I should be doing that more. Maybe I'll tell Hannah.
Once I get suspenders, I'm gonna start talking.
Yeah, exactly. You're on that track already. Well, speaking of Mar-a-Lago, interesting local news. Democrats won the county district of Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago flipped blue.
Oh, wow.
In Florida. So not a great look for the Mar-a-Lago boys. But anyway, so this week, the shutdown drama was amok. It's finally starting to get the attention that you would think a government shutdown should get. I mean, we are now at day 43, I think it is. It's been partially shut down basically since mid-February when they killed Alex Preddy, ICE that is. And there was all these kind of will they, won't they pass a deal this week. The Senate unanimously passed a deal to fund basically all of DHS except ICE and some parts of the Border Patrol, the CBP. And then the House Republicans rejected it. Of course they did. And then they made things about voter ID. Now they're going on recess for Easter recess for 2 weeks. So they've accomplished nothing. But thankfully, and this is good, that Trump signed an executive order that pays TSA workers in the meantime, which is nice. That's good. However, a bunch of them have resigned already, and they have to now retrain them or beg for them to come back, which is never great. But yeah, so they made it to the recess without doing anything. So once again, our Congress has failed us.
Right, and it came down to funding ICE. Like, the Democrats are willing to pass funding bills that just doesn't continue to fund ICE at this level. And Republicans are just refusing and, like, trying to pass their own. But they have to get it through a filibuster-proof Senate, obviously. I heard that I need to look more into the executive order because I heard it was only paying some of the TSA agents that haven't been paid, not all of them.
I haven't looked into it either, to be honest.
The fact that so many of these people in incredibly important jobs haven't been paid in a month and a half, and we just expect them to keep going to work. Like, even expecting somebody to go to work one day knowing they won't get paid is
they
too
shouldn't
much.
ever do it. Yeah, exactly. Like, it shouldn't even be 1 hour, frankly.
Yeah.
Like,
After the first week, if I knew I wasn't getting paid, like,
I'd quit
I'd be out.
immediately. Yeah,
Right.
100%, without a doubt. It's such a failed system. And it's funny because I know some listeners are probably going, well, why won't they fund ICE? This is ridiculous. ICE has separate funding secured for years under the One Big Beautiful Bill. They got a huge pay increase of billions of dollars. So that's why ICE and the Border Patrol are still operating completely normally, because they have a separate funding stream. So all this is saying is that they don't get even more money on top of the money that they've already gotten. Like, it just reins that in. Unless these are the only Democrat demands. They stop wearing masks, fully covered face masks while they do these things. And the second one is that they have warrants if they go into someone's house. Those are literally the two demands. And Democrats said if they do that, they'll give the money. And they refuse. Because they said that they're worried ICE agents will get doxxed. And my hunch is why would ICE agents get doxxed if they weren't doing anything wrong?
Right, and that standard is so low. Like, we make all policemen reach that standard, and it's such a low standard to not have a mask on and obtain a search warrant. Like, we're not.
What are we talking about?
We're not asking them to, run a 7-minute mile, which we know. We know they would not be able to do, but
No.
we're not asking that. Like, it's the bare minimum of what the law already says and what most people agree should be the reality.
It's crazy.
But and I mean, these ICE agents shouldn't even be in these cities in the first place. Like, the whole thing is Democrats grasping at the tiny bit of power they have in the Senate to prevent just the total disaster, illegal activities of ICE. And the Republicans refusing to budge even like an inch on that just shows you that they really don't care about all this other stuff. that goes
No,
into
yeah, they
funding
don't care
bills.
at all. Yeah, they don't
Everything,
care.
the majority of things that the federal government has to do, they're not worried about.
And how cowardly for them to go to the 2-week recess without solving this and letting the government continue to get shut down for the next 2 weeks, which is jeopardizing everyone's safety by not having an active airport security force. It's just, it's so embarrassing. It's such a pathetic moment. And of course, one of the answers to this TSA problem that Trump has taken credit for, stupidly, is putting ICE agents in the airports, right? Like having ICE agents do security checks and, help with line control, they're saying, because ICE is fully funded. That's exactly why they're able to do this. So now ICE is in the airports. That's a thing now. ICE is in many airports doing TSA jobs. And Steve Bannon, friend of Jeff Epstein, by the way, Bannon, who somehow, once again, has skirted that Epstein connection pretty well when he is so active in those emails and in the files. Steve Bannon is really all over them. He said this week on his show that we can use what's happening with these ICE agents at the airports as a test run, referring to using them to really perfect ICE's involvement in the 2026 midterm elections. And then his guest, who is a lawyer, said we should have ICE agents at polling places. So this is it. Again, the quiet part out loud phrase, but it's true, right? Like, I mean, this is them once again just conditioning people to have the expectation that ICE is going to be at the polls.
Yeah, and just being so shameless about it, having zero fear of blowback or any career consequences by
Exactly.
suggesting overthrowing democracy effectively. Yeah, and we'll talk about this when we get into the Mark Wayne Mullen confirmation stuff, but Steve Bannon is another example of how Trump, they're following Trump's lead of being shameless and unapologetic to such an extreme. The most unapologetic person you can imagine,
Yep.
never apologizing for anything, doubling down on everything. That's all seen as a positive now.
Yep. Which is funny because it would be one thing if they were like that and really good at their jobs. And then you'd say, well, they're mean guys, but they are good. But they're the most incompetent bunch we've ever seen in our lifetime. So not only are they huge assholes, they're really stupid and bad at their jobs. So they're just dumb assholes. like that's what it is. I'm sorry. Yes, they're freewheeling with their words, but they're doing such a bad job. Look at it. Look outside. You like this? Good. You happy? We got the pronouns out of email signatures. They got it. They did it. Wow. What a good compromise that was. They got those out, and now they have war all over the world and the economy crashing.
Yeah, they got the woke out of the military.
Wow, I know. Speaking of which, this week, Hegseth removed black and female officers from the promotion list. Only 4 people were removed. 2 are black, 2 are female. NPR says this is highly unusual, and there's never been an instance of something like this, and there's been no explanation. So, oddly enough, is that a coincidence? I don't know. Come on, these people suck.
Right, and let's remind our listeners, Hegseth, this was his whole career before he became the Secretary of Defense. He was a media personality on Fox News and a radio show, and then he wrote a book called The War on Warriors about how the military is woke now.
Yeah.
And he used that book to launch his political career before he was appointed by Trump. So this was his whole thing. In that book, he specifically names one of the high-ranking officials in the Department of Defense at the time, a few years ago, who was a black man, and specifically said this guy was appointed because of DEI, because he's black and not good at his job, and he fired him or requested his resignation. Like, that was one of the first things Hegseth did a year ago. So this is him, like, taking that a step further, like, basically reversing the promotions of unnamed people of color. So not just, like, these well-known people that he's gone after publicly in his book. Just so embarrassing, and, like, it's so... we always say, what is woke, right? Like, they constantly say this word woke, and really, like, really so much of Trump's appeal is about fighting woke, but they never define what woke is. And then when you finally get a specific example like this, it's like, oh, woke, you just mean people of color. You just mean make
Women.
the military more white and more male. That's what you that's what you mean. Okay.
You want to reduce the amount of women and people of color there. Yeah, that's what they want. They just then they're not even hiding it. And speaking of which, you mentioned it earlier, Mr. Mark Wayne Mullen, approved by the Senate this week as the Department of Homeland Security fighter extraordinaire. He'll cane you, or what was it, caning? He said he was. No, it was he dueled someone, and in that duel, someone got hit with a cane. No, he won't cane you, but he's a duel. He'll duel you, and he was approved today, not today, this week. The interesting thing about that was the Senate confirmed him. Fetterman joined the conservatives once again.
Dude is unbelievable.
He needs to go. T-shirt man, T-shirt and shorts. Fetterman needs to get the hell out of here.
He needs to go back to the Planet Fitness he walked out of.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I'd much rather you wear suspenders than dress like Fetterman. That's a no-brainer.
Dude dresses like Adam Sandler with none of the talent.
Or charisma or charm. Dude's such an asshole. And he's really gone under the radar. I mean, we obviously, and rightfully so, Schumer and Jeffries get most of the attention because they're the leaders of the party. But Fetterman's probably the actual worst one in terms of just like voting records and what he says and does. Like, he sucks.
He sucks so bad, and then the way that he uses his health issues as a defense, like whenever he gets criticized, he's like, oh, I was like having a bad day with my mental health that day. It's like, you voted to fund Israel more. like you can't use like your like brain issues as a defense for your policy positions.
And if your brain issues are really getting in the way of you voting clear-headedly, you can't be a senator. Like, that's the rule then. We need you there when you're voting. We need you clear-headed and clairvoyant. You can't be voting with a panic attack. Famously, the reason why they don't want women to be president. Oh, what if there's a nuclear drama and they're on their cycle or whatever? They always say that. Well, if that's an excuse that women can't, why is his mood swings allowed to? So stupid.
Yeah, oh my God. He is. I don't know when his term is up. Probably 2028. I don't know. I feel like I've been seeing those basketball shorts for years now, but it's probably only been a couple of years.
Feels like it's been my lifetime. It's probably been like a year and a half. Well,
he's still gunning for that And One sponsorship.
Whoa, Fetterman! I'm just a regular guy. Really? I'm sure regular guys do what you do. But speaking of Mark Wayne Mullen, I was doing a little bit of research on his past beforehand, just to learn a little bit more about him. And I started where everyone should, Wikipedia. And one thing that I noticed, because it's on the second paragraph of his intro, this is the sentence: he's a member of the Cherokee Nation. And he's the first senator who is a Cherokee Nation. And like, he's promoting that and bragging about it. That's amazing. Shout out to the Cherokee Nation. We have nothing but love for those guys. But I did want to let that hypocrisy sit in, because he's clearly the most white-looking man I've ever seen in my life. And I heard Elizabeth Warren get called Pocahontas for years and years and years, because she said on her college application that she was 1% Native American. Mark Wayne Mullen is bragging about being a Native American very outwardly, which I think he should. But all the people who were bashing Warren should be equally bashing him because it's the exact same thing.
Of course. And it's even worse than that. I don't know if you saw this clip when Trump was announcing his appointment. He was reading notes in front of him at the podium, and he clearly didn't know that fact about Mark Wayne. He didn't know he was claims part Cherokee. So Trump himself is reading it as he's like for the first time, but it's in a speech. And Trump is like, "Oh, it says he's from the Cherokee Nation. Oh, wow. That's great. I didn't know that. I love him even more now. I would have appointed him even quicker if I knew that before."
What?
I swear to God, he says that in the appointment speech. Yeah. So it's like he didn't, nobody gave him notes or even told him before the speech what was in the speech.
Does he even know who it is? Does he even know who
and
it
then
is?
His like genuine, like spontaneous reaction is to say, "I would have hired you sooner if I knew you were Native American earlier," which is literally the opposite of the entire DEI woke thing.
They said they hated that.
And everyone in the room just did the awkward laugh like they always do of like, this is a crazy old guy, but he's the president.
It's so bad. I just want everyone to sit on this hypocrisy because they're bragging so much about it. I don't know. And it's just and the thing is people are going to go, "Oh, well, no, I don't actually care that he's doing this. I think it's fine and it's well within his rights to brag about it." But I also wasn't attacking Warren for doing it. I never cared. Like, this is
right.
The hypocrisy is just sickening and it makes me want to vomit. This week, Donald Trump really broke the norms. This is new. This is a new one for a U.S. president. Never happened before. He is going to be signing the bills. So he will be the first ever living president whose signature will now appear on printed dollars, and he'll be on the $100 bill expected in June. It's the first time ever a sitting president's signature has appeared on paper money, like I just said. And yeah, it may be illegal, frankly, but yep. So this is now on top of the Kennedy Center, the Institute of Peace, battleships, Trump RX, the Trump Gold Card Visa, the Trump Ballroom, the Trump Savings Account. Now we're getting Trump on the dollar bill.
Yeah, probably the most unsurprising thing that he's done as president, yep, I would say, is put his name on the dollar bill. Like, this was like a joke that comedians were making in 2016. Like, oh boy, he's going to put his dumb face on a gold coin.
And here we are.
And here we are. Yeah, like you said, this hasn't been done before. Usually it's like the signature of like the treasurer, like who's like the number 2 in the Treasury Department. Like, usually it's not the signature of the president. So he's obviously going out of his way to put his stupid signature he already puts on the top of skyscrapers in major cities. He's now putting it on dollar bills.
Well, and on top of the banners all over D.C., all over his face everywhere. It's funny, though. I said this last about it. What kind of leader puts their face and name on everything in their country? Is it republic? Is it presidents? Is it prime ministers? Or is it dictator authoritarians? A, B, or C. Telltale sign. Put their face and name on everything in the country. It's just like, it's so not hiding it, which yeah, that's just it now. And I can't wait for the rest of my life, the naming and renaming of things going back and forth, because now I know the Kennedy Center will go back and forth every time now between Democrat and Republican for the rest of our lives. I mean, we know, I just feel like there's no way.
Right, of course.
No way a Democrat will keep all of this, and then they're going to, when he dies, they're going to heritage him. This is it. He did it. I mean, that ballroom will be him forever. So, speaking of the Trump administration and their prowess of intelligence, this week, Kash Patel got hacked, and never a great sign when the head of the FBI, who's supposed to be the most secure person in the country, I'd say. That means the CIA director, I'd say, which should be and the president, obviously. But yeah, he got hacked big time, and the Iranian-linked hacker group Handala published 300 emails and photos from his personal Gmail. While I go pull up these photos, Rick, do you have any thoughts on Kash getting hacked?
It's pretty funny. It's definitely funny. It's I wouldn't say I shed any tears.
Don't feel too bad.
Just like with the Hegseth leaking war plans to the Atlantic editor, it's so unbelievable because of these people being obsessed with Hillary's emails and all the things that were alleged, that the entire basis of the Hillary email issue was alleging that she had been careless with national security due to her own control over emails.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And now we're seeing like the worst leaks of people who, unlike Hillary, it's their whole job to prevent this.
And the Benghazi stuff, like the email scandal and all that stuff, it's still like pretty unclear what the effects of that was. You know what I mean? This is direct. Look, there he is. And I'm pulling up the photos now for us listeners on other things. And the picture we're looking at is of Kash, a younger Kash, sniffing a Cuban cigar, which is one of the ones that got leaked. Another one is him smoking that cigar, trying to look like a cool guy. And then there's this great picture of him with some rum. I'm going to find that one that got leaked. Where is that picture? Most of them are of him smoking cigars, but there is one of him making kind of like a meme face next to a bottle of rum. But yeah,
he has
not a great look.
He has big cocaine energy in general.
This one?
Like, why is every meme and news item of him, I'm like, that dude has a cocaine problem. Like, look at that face. That dude coked out of his mind.
It's funny because the edit of that face, of the cross-eyed photo, that's what we're looking at, is only slightly. That's real. That looks like it can't be true, and it is.
Deer in headlights.
Yeah, it's a bad photo. It's it's again though, like, it's interesting because there's obviously, like, it's just funny, like you said. That's like that's obviously was my first thought too, was just laughing at these dumb photos of our dumb FBI head. But then it made me terrified because, like, these jobs are so serious. There's a reason why the FBI exists. I want them to be really good at their jobs.
Right.
Like, I don't give a see, that's the thing. Like, I actually share a lot of the views that a lot of the GOP people pretend that they share, which is, I just want the smartest people doing the most difficult jobs. That's all. I actually want it to be merit-based, which is the whole point of DEI, frankly, that stop using nepotism and let the best people do the job. What? This guy's an idiot. I want real people in the FBI. I want real people in the Department of Homeland Security. I'm someone who's terrified of stuff. I want real security. Like, freaks me out that this is so incompetent. It makes me so scared. It genuinely scares me. This stuff freaks me out. Tulsi Gabbard is our intelligence head. These are idiots. I feel very unsafe with this crop of people. I don't know if you feel safe. I don't feel safe.
Yeah, and it's like, has Kash Patel ever heard of a VPN? Like, I'm not sure.
Dude, like, are you serious? And like, yes, I could get hacked, but I'm not the FBI head.
Right.
This is the person who's directly responsible for protecting the U.S. from foreign cyber threats.
Right, and by
he
the way,
literally got hacked by Iran.
Right, the cyber threat came from the country we just started a war with. The most obvious place it could possibly come from.
And of course, he's smoking Cubans. Just funny. Just so dumb. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And it is 2026. This is 2026. So speaking of some interesting little quick hitters before we go, this week, Stanford came out with a study, and also, Rick, sorry, I know you don't always care always about these environmental things, but I can't help myself. I need a monologue a little bit about offshore wind. I know our audience is probably, chomping at the bit for offshore wind news, but I can't help myself because as someone who worked in offshore wind for a long time. Dude, did you know this? Last week, the Trump administration paid Total, which is the French oil and gas company, but they also do renewable projects as well. Total Energies. They're French, though. They were going to build 2 offshore wind farms off the East Coast, right? So all throughout last year, there was lawsuits and stuff like this happening to try to stall these offshore wind projects, and they've all lost in court because they're all illegal, all the permitting stops. This week, or late last week, they paid them $1 billion to not build the project. The Trump administration paid Total $1 billion of taxpayer money to not build an offshore wind farm in an energy emergency. Like, they declared an energy emergency. $1 billion to do nothing.
Right.
I'm sorry.
That's insane.
They don't do that for oil and gas. They don't give them $1 billion to stop building the platforms. $1 billion of taxpayer money went to not building a wind farm. That could go to literally anything else. That went right out of Treasury. They had to open it up out of the Treasury because there's no money assorted for that. So they literally had to get Scott Bessent to sign it off.
Right, and like you said, we know these people don't care about the environment.
Of course.
But there's such an obvious national security interest in pursuing renewables where we are with Iran. This is
of course
the biggest example we've had in decades of why we need more renewable energy.
Or just of course, that's what I think. But you could even just argue just a diversified energy mix. You just can't be overly reliant on one fuel type, right? And we all agree that energy prices are going up. We all need more electricity. The more electrified everything gets through AI, through electric cars, through, just moving everything towards electrified appliances. That's just been that's the path of modernity, is everything's going to be electric based and largely driven by AI and electrical infrastructure. So we need all the electricity we can get. So to pay $1 billion to not build a wind farm that literally would connect to some of the most expensive energy markets in the world, but in the country, New York, New Jersey, the East Coast in general, it's just a joke. So not only are we cutting jobs or increasing emissions, we're literally doing nothing with that money. We're just burning it. So anyway, I just can't help myself. It just makes me sick. The real reason is just Trump doesn't like offshore wind because of his Gulf trauma. There's no real reason for this. So,
right.
Sorry, but it relates to this. So Stanford came out with a study this week that was published in Nature, which showed that U.S. emissions alone since 1990 have caused $10 trillion in global economic damages, with $3 trillion of them, 1/3, hitting the U.S.'s own GDP. So you might be wondering, how is that possible, right? Think about garbage. This is the analogy that people use in the paper, right? When we generate trash, it's illegal to just dump it wherever we want because it creates a cost to others. That's the thing, right? If I put my trash in your house, that's against the law because now you have to go move the trash. That's a cost, right? So that's the exact same methods that they use to calculate this thing. Makes total sense because of the burden of pollution. So again, it's the same thing with the offshore wind farm, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, other than I'm just pissed about it, is it's not only is it stupid from a moral, ethical point of view, obviously just protecting the environment and future generations of sustainability, it's shitty economics. Like, you're just burning money. Like, it's bad economic policy to do this stuff. And yeah, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think you covered most of it, but one thing that the study discussed was when getting these estimated numbers, like highlighting that historically, the United States has been the largest carbon emitter of any country on the planet. And I think that's an important point because you always, when talking about anything with the environment, you always hear from conservatives the pushback of what's the point in doing anything? China doesn't care and they're going to emit more. And even though now, current day in 2026, China may be emitting more carbon on a daily basis, like it's important to remember we've still done the most damage.
100%.
So we should still take responsibility for that. We can't just be like, oh, because China surpassed us in daily output recently, we can suddenly get rid of all the blame.
100%.
You know?
And it's totally missing the point that China's numbers have been going down too over the last 10 years.
And
also
they're investing a ton in renewables.
Trillion, like a huge amount, and manufacturing, right? They're owning the supply chains. They're owning everything about it. Like, they've completely dominated like renewables. They have hundreds of gigawatts of renewables getting built. It's just ridiculous. It's just so stupid. It's one of the dumbest things that we've done as a country. But it's really, really dumb. But potentially even dumber was this week, and this is my clip of the week, Linda. Are you anywhere?
It's time for the clip of the week.
Thank you. Which is this week, a robot accompanied the First Lady to the White House East Room for the final day of her global summit about the future of children. No one actually explained why the robot was there. And that's it. That's the story. There was just a robot there. So I wanted to play the clip of the robot because I don't understand what the deal is, and maybe you can help me understand what happened. It's a 2-minute clip, so maybe we'll fast forward through some parts, but you might laugh. I think you might laugh. Yeah. Let's watch this, Bad Larry. All right. This is from C-SPAN.
Which one's the robot?
We lower the volume a bit. They never said why they did this. And that's
it's interesting Melania looked so awkward walking down a red carpet, given that's the only job she's ever had.
Yeah, she couldn't coordinate with the robot. She let the robot take the lead. She's so good. Can we watch that one more time? I'm sorry for the listeners, but
yeah, they weren't as synced up as I was hoping they would be, to be honest.
This is so dumb.
It's the robot. She looks over.
This glorious moment. What the hell is going on? I don't know what this is. And they never explained what it was. They never said, why is there a robot here? She just walked down with the robot.
So I heard, the robot did say a few things. No, I'm not joking.
Stop.
The robot greeted guests in 11 languages. And at one point, the robot said, I'm not making this up. The robot said, quote, I am grateful to be part of this historic movement to empower children with technology and education. Direct quote from robot.
Does he have a name?
Figure 3.
Oh my God.
Figure 03. Um,
I might gonna cry.
that's how he introduced himself, actually.
Hi, I'm Figure 3. He's now said one more elegant sentence than the current president.
Yeah.
Figure 3 has now said more on the issue of child well-being than the current president.
He speaks 11 more languages.
I'd so much rather have Figure 3 be the president than Trump.
Oh, seriously.
Would you vote Figure 3 over
Definitely.
over Tom?
Well, so like it obviously this was supposed to be about like this was like an education summit. So I read in like some analysis about it that the theory is the Trump administration. It's like ridiculous.
That's a crazy sentence. The analysis is about the robot walk.
Is that the Trump administration is trying to promote AI robots and homeschooling together to say that like this robot can be the homeschooler of your children. Like that's the end goal here.
Oh my God.
Is the use of AI robots combined with their like make America healthy again, you should homeschool your kids so they don't learn about woke drag queens in public schools. Like they're combining those two totally separate topics into a proposal. A robot teaching your children in your home.
They're going to worship these things. Like, they're going to put a bishop hat on these things and start calling them Jesus. Remember a few months ago, you showed that quote of Rogan saying that AI was the rebirth of Christ because it was born of a virgin or whatever.
Yeah.
This is that. This is the early workings of this. 100%.
Right. They're laying the ground because it's like last episode we talked about how amazing it is that Trump's able to still win support from like evangelical Christians to like atheist tech billionaires and these different. And it's like this is one way he's combining the different groups of people.
Yeah. The Venn is closing on what if we worship the robots?
Right. What if the robots were Christian and white? how about that, Dems?
Yeah, liberals get owned.
Checkmate.
Yeah. Just actually, we don't listen to the Pope anymore. We listen to Figure 3. Yeah. Exactly. That's such a checkmate line. Little did you know, the founding fathers may have not been Christian, but Figure 3 is. With their ear patches on. Also, I know we're way over time, but like, can we talk just a second about how ridiculous that ear thing was? I hate to be, I'm usually tough on conspiracies, but dude, did that guy get really shot in the ear? I mean, his ear, how the hell did an 80-year-old man's ear from a high-powered rifle heal within a few weeks?
I think one of the Secret Service guys that grabbed him lightly scratched his ear.
Yeah. Or, I mean, we know he has relationships with the McMahons, the WWE people. Literally,
don't forget, he's on a larger than prescribed dose of aspirin to keep his blood nice and thin.
Oh, yeah, true.
So he bleeds easily.
And he's been bruising like a psycho lately. So he's on a bloody cycle. Yeah.
But also the fact that we're still talking about Hunter Biden more than the assassin who almost assassinated Trump.
I don't even know his name.
Like they talk like they talk about Bill Clinton more than they talk about that whole thing. When like after that happened, we were like, oh my God, this is going to be the centerpiece of everything Trump does for the rest of his life. It's going to be about how he lived through this assassination attempt. And it's like, other than them using a photo op for their ads, like we never hear about it. We never talk about it. There's no follow-up. Like,
no.
It really seems like it didn't happen, like they said.
Also, like, yeah, they only have used that photo to sell his fight cologne. and then used it for his product placement. That's really been the main use case of that whole thing. And also, and this is something that really I did not at all register in the moment, because when it happened, right, and obviously that fight, so it obviously, I don't know about you, but to me at least, it looked pretty badass. Like he got shot and he got up and he started chanting. Like in a vacuum, that's a very badass response to being shot, I think, right? Like immediately start pumping your fist. But then the more I think, he's such a wuss. There's no way that Donald Trump would gut up after being shot and start pounding his chest and his fists and yelling, fight, fight, fight. This is the same man who dodged the draft and can't walk down a staircase. Like, there's never been any instance of him being tough in any context whatsoever in any sort of way.
Right.
Like, he's not tough.
And also, like, the Secret Service that were covering him when he did the fight thing, they didn't know that the sniper had been killed after he shot those bullets. So in their mind, they should have been covering him still. And yet they let him stand up and go like this to an active shooter. Like, it doesn't, none of it makes any sense.
And I love how the main story after that was that there was that one woman security guard or Secret Service, and they were like, she shouldn't have been there. It's her fault. That somehow became conservative. Somehow nothing else was to blame other than that there was one woman on stage. Somehow she shoulders the entire blame of that entire event in starting a national debate if women should be allowed to be in the secret security. Like, it's just so degenerative. Like, every single thought, like, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, and how that didn't become their entire personality more doesn't make sense.
Is a weird sign. Yeah, but it's honestly a sign that something is up. The fact that they don't talk about it a lot, like they should be bragging about it more, given
or talking about revamping the Secret Service because they're too woke and weak. Like, why isn't that a big thing?
Well, don't forget they're bringing the Justin Gaethje to fix that up. Chris Weidman. They brought the dude who does the matchmaking to the freaking FBI. One thing too, and then we should probably get out of here, but is freaking a lot of this stuff is happening because it's the 250th anniversary, right? This is the 250. So we are going to be absolutely hammered with 250 events with these guys. Not just because it is a big deal, but more because we have literally the gift shop maven himself running the store. If what he can print 250 on and Trump on, this is a huge marketing opportunity for him.
And he turns 80 at the same time.
Oh yeah, on Flag Day.
Right. Like you already see the UFC event. They're like starting to mention that it's Trump's birthday too. Like, it's not even, they're not even pretending it's still about the country.
It's so similar to, it's such a bummer because, like, Trump would make such a good, like, dictator of a small country. He'd be perfect for, like, some random tiny little dictatorship, like North Korea style. That's where he should be. That's his.
Almost
like sad.
Almost like he should be hosting a reality show where he's able to fire whoever he wants.
It's almost like his best thing was making fun of Rosie O'Donnell and Gary Busey. It's just crazy, man. It's just, I mean, we didn't even talk about it yet, but the Cuba stuff. He keeps saying Cuba is next. Cuba is next. I don't think the U.S. can go to war with Cuba. I might do a solo show on Cuba eventually, like do a deep dive on it because there's so much to unpack. But my initial gut, just so we can say we've talked about it, would say that they're going to wait to some degree of resolution with Iran before doing anything militarily with Cuba. But God knows I don't know anymore. I don't know. What do you have any thoughts on this? Obviously, we can talk about it more as it gets more evolved, but just off the top of your head.
You would think, because the Iran war does seem like it's bad for them politically outside of like it being bad for the world and society.
And they need $200 billion. They're running out of money. They're asking
Right.
for a 30% paycheck increase.
Right.
So how are they going to pay for Cuba?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like, where's this money coming from? Then again, actually, scratch that. They'll find the money. They don't care.
Right. They'll say Cuba's sending drug boats, and they're so close to Florida that we had to do something.
They'll say Cuba paid for us to invade them. That's the deal. He's such a great deal maker. Cuba paid for it. Yeah, like that's what they'll say. Oh, and lastly, actually, very quick. So a report came out this week that showed that the Department of Defense used Claude and Anthropic for some of the Iranian strikes. Now, that isn't so interesting in a vacuum because that's just been like AI has been used more and more with this stuff. Why it's so interesting is that these strikes came after they had said that Anthropic was a woke liberal company and banned it from the Pentagon because Anthropic said we won't give to all your demands about, letting AI autonomously kill people and surveil people or whatnot, which is why Anthropic is by far, in my opinion, the most morally strong large language model. Like out of all, I know you could say, well, none of them are. That's fair. But like out of the pot, Claude is the best one, I think. So it just shows you they were full of shit. So they say all this stuff one size, but then they actually use the best stuff. So again, another into the window of the performance piece that is MAGA.
Right, and it wasn't even that long ago that they said that about Anthropic.
No, 2 weeks ago.
Like it was 2 weeks. Yeah, right.
We were talking about that.
They said that they were an unacceptable risk to continue using them.
And then they used them. It's bullshit. But it's more and more. None of this is real. They just say shit. They just say shit. We'll go crazy if we keep running around in circles, just trying to make sense of everything. Like, it's just, I don't know. This Cuba stuff is awful. I'm looking up Cuba now, like just 11,000 kids awaiting surgery because hospitals are in blackout. We're already under a U.S. fuel blockade. This stuff is awful. It just makes me sick.
And Trump is putting all his faith in Marco Rubio because he's part Cuban, but that's not DEI at all.
No. The fact that I think Lara Trump runs the Republican committee, I'm sure she got that by merit alone.
Right.
I don't know. We'll see. I think we have a lot to follow next week. I don't think this is resolving anytime soon. I think we're going to be talking about a lot of this next week. Did you have anything else you want to add before we head out of here?
No, I think that's it. Just everyone listening, send in your questions and comments.
Oh, yeah. We haven't been as good about we got a lot last week by volunteer. Yeah, but send them in. Send them in. And don't forget, if you made it this long, you are a devout. And if you're this devout, my God, please comment on Rick's fashion sense and what he should be wearing because he needs to hear it from the people.
Yes, I am experiencing a fashion crisis and need some guidance.
And in the haze, he's turned towards two old reliables. Suspender 1 and suspender... Just so you can't wear suspender. What color would they be? Black?
I'm still figuring that out.
What's funny is because this is just a natural evolution from your robber chic era of style, which now you're dealing with more heavy fabriced pants, and now you're the consequence of keeping them up is being more and more real.
Right, exactly. When you don't wear joggers every single day, you're looking for, ways to keep up your khakis.
They've evolved. I think we just need to go to a wider array of clothes.
I think I just need to go to the Burlington Mall.
Yeah, you just need to go to any mall or shopping area. Go to any store in 2026. We can clothe many body types nowadays. We don't need suspenders. They've worked them out.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah, this video gets enough likes. Rick will send a sketch of his dimensions and show that he's an absolute brick house. Apparently. But you shrink. That's the problem. It's not the size. It's the shrinking, right? Because now you don't want to sell. But aren't you worried that you'll look like one of those guys, like in the silhouette of a pants with it holding up, and you'll
I'm gonna look like Oppenheimer.
Yeah, don't you? You already do have a lot of visual cues with Oppenheimer. You both have a very sinewy appearance. Yeah, it's a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss. Let us know your thoughts. Thank you for listening. Rick, thank you per usual. Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya. All right, and that's our show, folks. Thank you for listening. And you made it all the way to the end. You are a trooper if you've made it this far, and you have no idea how grateful I am of you. And if you want to make me even more grateful, you can give the show a review, comment, share it around. I love when everyone does that, and you all are so good about it anyways. But you know I got to do it, so thank you so much. Let me know what you think. You can write us in at thelonelyliberalpodcast@gmail.com. We are going... Also, actually, if you're this far, let me know what you think. We're going to get a new email, and I'm thinking hello@lonelyliberalpodcast.com, but maybe contact. It's a little boring. I mean, you could just do Nick, but what if Rick uses it at the beginning? I don't know. Give me, if you can think of a better pun, hey, Nick, or at the Lonely Lib, at Lonely Lib Podcast. It's a little confusing. I don't know. Probably going to go with hello, but until then, at thelonelyliberalpodcast@gmail.com. You can also reach out at Instagram or YouTube. We have a TikTok. I haven't been posting on that as much. I don't know. TikTok's a little gross. I know it's the same, and what a weird way to put a fork in the road ground, but I don't know. Maybe I should be on there again. Well, now you've heard me monologuing enough. Enjoy your rest of your week, and we'll talk on Wednesday, all right? See ya. Bye.